All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call. Ms. Clerk Magallanes, please call roll.
Chair Henderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Lees,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Lujan,
Here.
and Commissioner Olivares.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. And our first item on the agenda is a presentation of a legislative update from Attorney Huffman.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Is this on? Okay, cool. Brenda, did you want to say anything before I get started, just on kind of why you asked me to do this and what we're doing here?
Sure. So I asked Alex to go ahead and give us a brief update on all the legislative updates. So our governor signed about 32 new bills that all need to be enacted by 2025 or 2026, or they have different timelines. And so it will change a lot of the review processes for some of these projects. So the idea is to get in front of it and kind of give you an update, so that way when you're not seeing as many of these projects before you, you'll have a little bit of an understanding why. I do want to preface that if there's any additional questions about any specific bill, Alex and I can set up separate meetings so that we can kind of go into it. But please have some grace with us because this is new. This is all of 2 weeks ago. So we're still kind of working through what that's going to look like.
Thank you. So this presentation is essentially divided into, well, it's 7 slides. The first 5 are about projects that, it's not clicking. There we go. The first 5 slides are about projects that you will have limited discretion to deny. And we'll talk about when you can deny a project and which project that is. The second 2 slides are those projects that just have to be approved. Ministerially, those projects you probably won't see because they'll be over-the-counter permits. So also, as we go through this, how I've organized it, it depends on the zone and the type of project. And so you'll see as we go through it, that's how it's outlined, because there's like a million different laws and none of it really makes any sense. So I tried my best. So it all started with the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. Basically, the legislature made a really dramatic declaration that the housing supply and affordability is at a crisis of historic proportions, and that's about like the first page of the whole ordinance is about how there's no houses and it's horrible. So this Housing Crisis Act of 2019 limits local discretion to deny or condition approval on housing development projects. So in the government code specifically that we're referencing is 65589.5. And the review depends on the zone and type of projects. We're going to talk about single family, non-residential, and multifamily. There's also a distinction within the zones between market rate development and affordable development. So in the single family zone, this would be something that is basically someone wants to build a single-family residence in an ADU, JADU. You cannot, not you, the city cannot deny a compliant housing development project unless there are written findings based on a preponderance of the evidence that the project would have a specific adverse impact upon the public health or safety, unless the project is rejected or constructed at a lower density, and there's no feasible method to satisfactorily mitigate and avoid this adverse impact other than rejecting the project or not allowing them to build at the density, the higher density they've requested. So this is single-family zone for single-family residences and ADUs. So what that would typically look like would be someone wants to submit a permit to kind of construct both, or maybe two or more lots with multiple dwelling units on them. Because as you know, an ADU, so say a house is already there and someone submits an ADU, that has to be ministerially approved. So this kind of housing development is a little bit more than just one ADU on a lot where there's already an existing single-family residence. Does that make sense? Okay, all right.
I can go ahead and chime in too. The commission actually did review a tentative map that was intending on having a single-family residence ADU and the JADU over on Palmdale Boulevard and about 55th Street East. So those are now ministerial. What would be, right, the map would come before you, but anything that would be approved after the fact, it would come through ministerially. So we do that now with the subdivision development plans, but those would not be something that we would be talking about in this forum.
Are there still setback requirements?
Yes,
Okay, so we still do have guidelines and requirements.
yes, they're just not discretionary approvals. Correct, only for
Okay.
tentative maps.
So it's basically like if a project comes in and it checks all the boxes of the statute, we have to stamp it and you're good to go. There's no discretion, except for the ones that we're talking about here, which is there aren't that many. So this would be in the non-residential zone. So SB 6 essentially allows the conversion of things that are zoned office, retail, and parking to have housing developments on them. So it allows residential development on property that was zoned for retail and office space without the need for rezoning.
So it stays zoned commercial.
Right.
And they build a house on it. The problem, I think, though, with that is getting a mortgage on is going to be a problem because the mortgage company says it's got to be zoned residential.
Yeah. So this is for market rate housing in the non-residential zone, because you'll see that if it's an affordable development, it's ministerial approval and there's no discretion to deny it. This one for market rate housing, you have that limited discretion to deny it under that government code section that we just talked about, which was specific adverse health and safety, and there's no way around it to avoid the impact unless you deny the project or don't let them build at the allowable density.
Now, does that mean that the city now will change the code to say that now residential is allowed on all these categories?
So we're looking at it what we're gonna first start with is amending the city's application process so we can kind of filter and catch these projects at the beginning and know which law applies. Eventually, we will have to update the code because there's no way that the legislature enacted 32 plus laws and we don't have to update our code. Like, we're gonna have to do something. But the goal is to first start with the application so we can at least filter them in, filter the projects as they come in, see if the applicant is claiming, hey, we want SB 6 or whatever, so that we know at the outset what we're working with. So we're gonna start with the application, but eventually, yes. But if if a project like this came before you, we would just, the staff report and everything would explain what discretion you do have. So you wouldn't be just flying in the dark, not knowing what your review is on the project. That would all be before you. These are kind of special cases. I don't know how many types of these projects realistically the city is gonna get. So this is also in the non-residential zone. These are two types of affordable housing that there is limited discretion to deny under that same government code, but a different section for affordable housing. And for affordable housing to deny it in the non-residential zone, the city has to have a compliant housing element and meet or exceed its RENA requirements. And there has to be a specific adverse impact upon the public health or safety with no feasible method to avoid it without rendering the development unaffordable.
And if I could interject, so we do an annual report at the beginning of each year that goes before council, and our arena numbers are fairly high, and we make progress every year, but we're nowhere near. It's very hard to meet those numbers.
And just so you know, these two laws, so the AB 2295, it basically allows for a local school district to convert its land into housing developments. So it's supposed to be for teachers or students or those types of people, and then they can build it in the non-residential zone. And the hotel motel conversion project, also similar. It's old hotels and motels that are being converted into housing. You probably have heard of Project Home Key. Similar, yeah, similar.
The city currently has a project, a home key project at the Knights Inn here on Palmdale Boulevard.
Okay.
But Code 2295 doesn't allow abandoned schools to be turned into housing.
This one, I don't think they're abandoned. They're owned by local government agents, local school district agencies, and then they can turn it into housing. The intent is that it's supposed to be for teachers, is what the law says. Teachers and students and people who go to the school. I don't think it has to be abandoned. I think it can just be in the non-residential zone.
I know Parkview Middle School in Lancaster, they decided they're not going to use that for a middle school anymore. Now you have all these buildings. Would that be something, that kind of housing, that be turned into housing, that
Yeah.
whole middle school?
Yeah, I think that would be that's the intent, is to, you've got this abandoned place that is kind of already divided up into rooms already, so why don't we just make a house out of it? I think that's the idea.
Now, are you saying that the housing for the school zones are strictly for teachers and kids?
That's the intent. They want,
That's
that
weird.
one's kind of a weird law, and I've actually had emails from multiple cities saying, like,
So teachers, kids, and families, that's what we were.
kind of, yeah, it's a really funky one. Just know that it exists.
Okay.
That
weird.
element is.
To
We
me-
will cross that bridge if we
Yeah.
go there, if we get there.
A
yeah.
lot of them are so specific and nuanced that's why I'm briefly just touching on them so you know it's out there. Just for entertainment purposes, because they're all really weird.
I'm scratching my head on those.
Yeah. If you ever want to read it, it is strange. And you guys aren't the only people I've heard say that's really weird. Why would they do this? I've had council members say, like, this freaks me out. Like,
Assuming they're trying
Yeah.
to fix the housing crisis, but,
They're doing everything they could do
It's weird.
except for make it easier to build new houses.
Exactly.
Yes.
and affordable.
Exactly. And affordable housing, yeah.
so this is just in the multifamily zone.
Okay.
Any housing development that doesn't fall under any other state law or municipal code would fall under the Housing Crisis Act, and those sections that pertain to market rate and affordable housing, that's the discretion to deny the project. It would apply in the multifamily zone, but as you'll see, a lot of projects in the multifamily zone qualify for ministerial approval. So that's probably what people are gonna try to do. But I just put that on there so you know that if it doesn't fall under anything else, it will fall under the Housing Crisis Act, and you will have some limited discretion to deny, but it's gonna be difficult. So these are the ones that must be approved, and you probably won't see. So in the single family for market rate, we have the SB 9 lot splits, which is basically someone can take their housing lot and split it into two lots, and we just have to approve it. Kind of like, a lot of the ones in the single family zone are basically streamlining the subdivision map act. They kind of pertain to subdivision and maps. So SB 9 lot splits, ADUs and JADUs, which we already knew about. There also SB 1123 allows for the subdivision on 10 or fewer vacant lots has to be ministerially approved without a tract map. So they streamline that process. So something like that would be that I would probably look at first to update the code with, just so that it's easier for staff, and because we know that one has to kind of be taken out or have its own weird procedure. So non-residential zone, affordable housing, these have to be approved, which is an SB4 University or Religious Institution project or AB 2011 office retail parking conversion. So SB4, kind of weird, if it's owned by a university or a religious institution in the non-residential zone and they want to build affordable housing, we have to approve it. And then that also applies to office, retail, and parking conversion. So as we talked about the market rate projects, you have some discretion to deny. If it's affordable housing, ministerial approval. One more slide.
So can they build condos on top of the office and retail? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, so the one component, and I think that's what you're alluding to, that I didn't include in this presentation because it was already so much information, is the density bonus. And if you want to talk about that at a later date, more than happy to dive into that and bring you back something that is workable in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because I don't think you wanted to be here for an hour listening to housing laws. So, no one does, right? And I don't want to tell you about it for an hour, no offense, but, so we can always do more on the density bonus, now that we know that these laws exist and what we're looking for. But last slide, ministerially approved housing projects in the multifamily zone, SB 35 affordable housing, you know about that one, have to approve it. For market rate housing, it's SB 684, which is if someone wants to develop a lot in the multifamily zone for 10 or fewer homes, we have to automatically approve the subdivision. So it's the same as the one that we talked about in the single family residences for the vacant lots. This law was passed first, and then SB 1123 amended this section to also include the single family zone vacant lots. So I split them up for you, but they're the same law. Same thing for AB 803, if someone is subdividing 5 acres or less in the multifamily zone and they are going to construct single family units on the lot, ministerial approval. So those two last ones are kind of subdivision map act type overriding situations, as opposed to some of the other ones that are projects that you have to approve. The map ones to me are easier to understand. It's just a streamlined approval process to kind of subdivide property. That makes sense to me. But some of the other ones are really wonky and interesting.
So if a builder buys 20 acres, cuts it up into 4 parcels, they can do one project at a time, 5 acres each,
Yeah.
and breeze right through?
Yeah,
Okay.
depending on what they want to develop. So, any questions? No? Okay, let me know too if you want more. There's so much more.
It's just the appetizer.
I do.
Yeah, everyone's like, no.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the public comment rules. Clerk Magallanes, please play the public comment code of conduct video or audio. Take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The meeting of this body is now in order. A code of conduct will now be read, and we request that you comply with it to ensure the efficient administration of the meeting. Members of the public, it is your right to participate in today's meeting, and this meeting body encourages such participation. However, the right of the public to address the body must be balanced with the need to ensure that public comment does not interfere with the orderly course of this body's business. All are reminded to abide by the following rules. Speakers must cease speaking immediately when their time has ended. Public comment on agenda items must relate to the subject matter of that item. General public comment is limited to subjects within the jurisdiction of the body. Public comment does not include the right to engage in a dialogue with members of this body or staff. Please remain respectful of the forum and refrain from uttering, writing, or displaying profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or other abusive statements towards the members of this body, staff, or any other person. Members of the audience should be respectful of the views expressed by speakers, staff, and members of this meeting body and may not excessively clap, cheer, whistle, or otherwise disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. Any person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being removed from the meeting. Finally, if you witness conduct or behavior by other members of the public that disrupts your ability to remain engaged or participate in this meeting, please notify city staff. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, now is the time for public participation on items listed on the consent calendar only. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes to speak if they wish. Clerk Magallanes, do you have any speaker cards for the consent calendar?
We do not have any speaker cards.
Okay, so we're on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion unless items are pulled by commissioners. Waiver of the full reading of resolutions to be considered and voted on at this meeting allows for reading the title only in lieu of reciting the entire texts. Commissioners, would you like to pull any items from the consent calendar? Nope. Okay.
No.
Can I get a motion then and a second to approve the consent calendar?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Commissioner Jones, a second from Commissioner or Vice Chair Elise. Please show your votes, or is that a voice vote, or?
It's just voice vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes with 5 yes votes. Okay, we're on to, that was 6, we're on to 7, public hearings. Clerk Magallanes, please read the item title for the record on item 7, 7A.
Item 7A, adopt resolution number PC 2024-019, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Palmdale recommending City Council approval of major modification 24-0023 and find that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review.
Okay, we have a staff presentation by Associate Planner Sarah Stacknick. Welcome.
Good evening, Planning Commissioner. Before you tonight is a request from Together California for approval of modifications to an approved mixed-use development project for foster youth housing and related services. The project was approved in November of last year through Site Plan Review 23-0003 and Plan Development 23-001. As shown here, the project is located on 30th Street East between Palmdale Boulevard and Avenue R, north of McAdam Park. Just a bit of background about the project. Project is divided into 2 sections with a mixed-use building along 30th Street East, which will include offices, community center, apartments, and some outdoor areas. The residential portion will be located within the western portion of the site and will include townhouse 2-unit buildings around a central courtyard, and will also include several outdoor amenities. The applicant is proposing changes to the site layout, including additional sport court areas, modifying the interior courtyard design, adjusting some proposed amenities, and modifying the separation between the 2 portions of the site. The modifications are intended to better serve the needs of the project and still meet the number of required site amenities and landscaping and all of that. Modifications to the community center building include changes in building materials, design, and changes to the waiting area. And modifications to the townhomes also include changes to building materials, design, and the building footprints. Again, these modifications are intended to meet project goals and help the feasibility of the project. The modifications are also consistent with the previous environmental review. And with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution recommending City Council approval of this modification. This concludes my presentation. Staff and the applicant are available for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there was quite a few changes.
Yeah.
Did you want to go through like a synopsis of the changes? What was going to be removed, maybe, that was previously approved?
Sure.
Because all we saw there was just an elevation, and that was it. I think there was quite a bit more of changes.
Right, yeah, there were, I can go through them, or I can also have the applicant go through them. How would you prefer?
Okay, applicant. Okay, we have, do we take this, do we have any speakers, any speaker cards on this? No? Okay, so come on up, applicant.
Commissioners, thank you for the time. I'm Tim McCormick, the Executive Director, and I'll let Gil talk in a minute about it. When we went through some of these changes, I wanted to make sure that, everyone knows, including my architect, that what we're doing is not just housing, it's housing for kids who've been in foster care, it's really trauma-based housing. So what you'll hear are things certainly that are going to be economical, that, the cost of this is almost all private funding to get there. But the other three levels of changes you'll see is around issues of safety. And what I mean by safety is the houses will be licensed to have 6 children in them. And so we've made some adaptations so that a foster or resource parent can have better site control and a few other things to look at this. So it's economical, safety, and durability. Were kind of the 3 categories that the projects went into. So while there are some, it is a little bit of tweaking and architectural stuff on how a roof may slant or things like that. But that's a little backdrop, and I'll let Gil speak to it in terms of the details.
Sure. And we can go through it item by item if you'd like, or you go through it item by item? There's about 20, so it's going to take just a little bit of time. But if you all are up for it, I sure am as well. So just start at the top of the list. There's a series of trash enclosures that were concrete block masonry, and they were wrapped in a metal panel, right? After reviewing it a little bit longer, it didn't make sense to wrap that masonry in a metal panel. It's going to just get beat up. So we have an upgraded masonry that's going to look better than your typical CMU. I think there were some photographs provided in the packet. And it's just going to be a little bit more durable, still look good, and it's not like a gray off-the-shelf CMU. So that's at the two trash enclosures. Excuse me. There were a number of storage buildings around the site as well. We eliminated one of those, and that's just a need-based issue. Those storage enclosures were things for garden care, lawn mowers, brooms, that sort of thing.
Do you still have a place to put that
We
stuff?
absolutely do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple, actually.
All right.
Let's see. At the center of the site, there was an engineering change in order to deal with the water treatment that's required. There was a swale there. We no longer need that swale. We still wanted to maintain the visual interest, so we introduced a series of kind of playful mounds that'll be landscaped. The kids can kind of run around and play around and jump on those things. And also, it's going to be a little bit safer than the swale, which was goes down. I think it dropped down about 3 feet, so a little bit of a tripping and falling hazard. So a little bit safer for the residents. Sarah was showing the site plan and the central courtyard. There was a steel trellis canopy element. That has been removed and replaced with a bosque of trees. I think there is about a dozen trees that make up that bosque, and it'll provide the same purpose: shade, shade and visual interest. It's going to be a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more friendly during the hot time of the year. So if someone is leaning, they don't burn themselves on it. Yeah.
I do have a question on the trees. Are they going to be fully grown trees or more mature trees?
Yeah,
Because it
those-
takes a long time for
That's
a tree to grow out. Yeah.
That's a great question, and we've gone through working with the landscape architect, prioritizing where you'd have less mature trees and also more mature, and that's one of the areas for mature trees.
Yeah, I just didn't want to remove the shade and not provide mature trees.
You need shade right away.
You're
exactly.
spot on.
So was
Absolutely.
the trellis like a pergola? Was it a roofed structure that would provide shade for them to like maybe have picnic tables or something underneath them?
That's exactly
But-
right.
But you're eliminating that.
The shade will be provided by the tree canopy itself, right? And these are drought
But
tolerant.
it takes a long time for a tree to create, I mean, they're not gonna come in with a giant canopy. It's gonna take years
It's
and
gonna
years
take-
for that
so
canopy to.
You're right. These are mature trees, and they're gonna take a few years to grow. They're not small, so they're gonna provide shade immediately during the summer. That'll happen immediately, but they won't be fully grown. I would have to double check the box size on them, but they are, for new trees, they're considered mature trees.
So then there's
and-
not going to be any kind of trellises or pergolas or anything to provide shade initially? Because it gets hot. I mean, it's
yeah.
over 100 degrees all summer.
That's a great point, and something to also keep in mind. There's that area as a central area, but then each one of the pairs of townhomes is designed so they also have an outdoor courtyard that's shaded. Part of it's completely covered throughout the course of the year, right, because of the way the architecture developed, and another portion of those same courtyards are open air. They also have a tree, but then they'll also be shaded by the two-story buildings. So you'll get the shade within the courtyards at the homes, and then you'll get the shade that's provided by the bosque. And yes, that'll take a few years to fully grow in.
Because to bring in trees, I mean, I see them, they build these projects all the time.
Sure.
They never bring in the big trees. They bring in trees that take 20 years to become big shade trees.
Yeah.
And they say they're going to bring in mature trees.
Sure.
And they do that. Like if it was being in Valencia, they bring in giant trees from day
Yeah,
one.
Understood. Understood.
But here, I never see them bring in a tree that's a shade tree until 20 years later. It turns
Yeah.
into a shade
No,
tree.
I think the reality of what you're looking at, well, number one, these are not like 1-gallon trees, right?
Of course not, of course
Right.
not. Even a 48
Inch box,
inch
yeah.
box tree is not a fully grown tree
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
I mean, they're gonna call it a mature tree because it took a long time to get to the 48-inch box.
Of course.
But they usually bring 36-inch
Of course,
boxes.
yeah.
And even at 48-inch boxes,
Yeah.
they're still not shade trees yet.
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
it's gonna still take quite a while to turn into
I
shade.
believe these are closer to 6 foot, if I'm not mistaken.
If I could interject, what we could do from the dais is add a condition of approval for mature trees, whether that be a percentage of mature trees or, but that is an option, if that's a concern.
So I think what happens is we all intend for this to happen.
Of course.
And then you contract it out to the landscape guy, and tell the landscape guy, okay, you've got $200,000 to bring us some trees. And they're like, oh, okay, and they bring you some little trees.
Yeah.
We wanted to see big trees.
In this case, we tell them specifically how big each tree is.
There's specs on the trees.
Yeah, so the specific size is identified.
So can we
and not only the size, but the
condition-
quantities as well.
So let's,
We can add a
Condition.
condition of approval.
to have a
that-
mature, so that they have a chance.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know 20 years from now, they'll be great, but
I
they're
thi-
gonna
I think-
sweat
I think
for
you'll
20
see
years.
these- I think you will see these very immediately. Certainly not a 20-year tree,
Right.
but within a 5-year period, you'll have a very substantial coverage.
Because, we want to encourage these kids.
Socialization.
To
Yeah.
socialize,
Socialization. You're right.
to get out of these apartments
Yes.
and go around and enjoy the village.
That's right.
And if
wanna
you're a
have a
foster parent
village.
there, you really want that to happen.
Right.
That's
But I think what we did in looking at this, it really not necessarily a cost issue for us. We realize sometimes these metal things with winds and things like that,
Oh.
there could be more problems than that. And then, one of the things we've done in other places too is teaching kids about the environment and how this works. And so when we began to pivot from this, we were clear about having to make sure there were the shade, just for that issue of socialization. Yeah. so I
Because when
think
we had the old fairgrounds in Lancaster, the trees were,
Yeah.
50 years old. It was great, shade everywhere.
Of course.
Then they built a new fairgrounds, and it was no shade trees, and it was hot.
Understood.
So
Understood.
if you're counting on the tree as the only shade, it's going to take a long time.
Oh, yeah, I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
the design, what we looked at. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So having some structures of shade initially, we would like to see, because we want those kids out of those units,
We all do.
I got
Yeah,
you.
and
Okay.
that's the overall design of
Yeah.
the community is really about just that, community,
Yeah.
getting kids out, getting the foster parents out as well.
Okay. All right, you got a long list. Let's go through
Absolutely.
it.
Let's keep going. Let's see, striping of pickleball court. There's fire lanes and drive aisles, and some of that may never be used unless there's a fire emergency. So it's an opportunity to just paint some lines on the concrete where kids can
Oh,
play some
okay.
pickleball.
That's a simple thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
dual
simple
use,
way.
we like that. That was a plus. That's not a takeaway.
Now,
Adjustment, number 6, project information, square footage adjustments. That's just correction, adjusting some numbers. We right-sized the homes. They're still sized with the 4 bedrooms, able to house with 1 master suite, and then each one of the other bedrooms is able to house a bunk bed and a desk for 2 kids. And so functionally it didn't change, but the square footage reduced a little bit. And so that was an adjustment to the overall areas, yeah.
So you said on the report it's 6 kids and then the 2 foster parents. I think if I read this correctly, it's like 400 minus 485 or 95,
Yeah,
right around there.
yeah, square feet.
And is that enough, like, square footage? Is that like, is there a standard square footage size for
the
family?
first DCFS has a standard, so we will exceed that standard.
And the rooms will be big enough
Correct.
for the kids and stuff?
That's exactly right. And then there's accessibility and emergency clearance standards that we need to meet as well, and those things are all met.
Okay, thank you.
Because DCFS also has to license our homes for that.
At the homes, at the courtyard leading into the homes, there's a little seat wall. That was a stone wall, and that was just changed to a decorative masonry. So it'll be keeping with some of the other features in the project.
Can they still sit on it?
Yeah, it still acts as a bench. It's just it's still a super durable material, but we just wanted it to match some of the other finishes in the project. Let's see, number 14, increase the planting area at the townhome courtyards. So each one of the townhome courtyards had a little bit more concrete area, and we decided let's soften it up a little bit. It was a little too hard, if you will. So introduce just more area for landscape and a little less hardscape in the courtyards for the homes. Number 15, perforated metal gates replaces overhead door at the outdoor townhomes. The townhomes, those, again, the courtyards, the covered area of the courtyard has a wall on one side. It's enclosed on one side, and it had a roll-up door, like you might see on some garages. We just replaced that with a decorative gate, and the opening is still there, so people can still move around and move maintenance equipment and the like through there, but we're just using a decorative door as opposed to a roll-up type of garage door.
Okay.
Let's see. Thank you. Let's see, number 16, changes to townhome fenestrations. That was, for the most part, as we started to lay out the furniture in the plans, we had changed some of the window locations a little bit, so it just worked better with furniture, and also the heights. Talk a lot about the courtyards. The courtyards have 3 large windows at the first floor that would open to them. And when I say large, 6 feet wide by about 7 feet tall, so pretty substantial, right? And 2 of them, we reduced the height on them. We brought so they don't come all the way to the ground. They come up about 1.5 feet from the ground, so you have a place where you can put a table, a nightstand, a couch, that sort of thing. But it's still a big window. Let's see, community center and studios. So this is number 17. Change indoor waiting area to covered courtyard area. So when you walk into the courtyard at the community center, it was really divided in 2 by a lobby, right? So if someone would come in, if there's someone on the other side, you might not see them. So what we've done is just eliminate the enclosed area. You come into a common outdoor courtyard, and from there you can go into the community building or into the office area, restrooms, et cetera. So you're able to see through a little bit more security there. Let's see, number 18, taller patio enclosures for Phase 1 studios. Those always had a patio enclosure. We're only building Phase 1. You may recall what was approved was Phase 1 and Phase 2. So the updated drawings that have been sent over show just the Phase 1 at this point. And we had to think about those studios and making sure that they're secure. So we adjusted the enclosure there from 3'6" to 6 feet. So there's a little bit more secure. Previously, they would have had the other studio apartments, the Phase 2 ones, acting as a buffer and providing some security as well.
Patio enclosure, do you mean like the little wall that comes out?
You've got it.
That would be on the back or the front?
That is, it's on the front of those studio apartments. And it would be facing, what would that be? I guess that would be facing south on the site.
Yeah.
Are these two stories? Are those gonna be two
These
stories?
Phase 2 is 2 stories.
Okay, phase one is only one story.
Yeah,
Okay,
and recall, these studio apartments are either for youth transitioning out or for a birth parent whose children is on the village and looking to get custody back. So these are adults living there.
Okay. Still at the community center, number 19, provide planting directly into the ground and remove the concrete planters. There were, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6? 6 12-inch tall concrete planters, and we just thought, let's plant directly in the ground. The plants are going to do a little bit better. It's a little bit easier to maintain, but not changing the landscape. Let's see.
are you only asking for changes to phase one? Or are you asking for changes in,
Just phase 1.
for
Phase
future
one.
phases?
Yeah, just phase 1.
Because weren't there balconies? Are any of the phase one have balconies?
The homes have balconies.
Correct.
Yes, they do.
Is that part of phase one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are there.
So what are the changes proposed for the balconies?
There are none.
All right.
Were there before?
No, I've been against the balconies. I gotta tell you this, I've never been a big fan of balcony, just because of kids. But we've left them in there.
The balconies they were there, and they're still there. They have not
Yeah.
changed. Yeah.
Okay.
And the balcony is right outside where the foster parent will have their living space.
Oh, so it's the parent
Well, it's anyone
space.
who's in the house, but to
Okay.
access it, you're gonna go through the parent bedroom.
Got
That's
it.
right. Let's see, number 20, change roofing to PVC standing seam. So this is throughout, we were showing a standing seam metal roof. We're doing now a standing seam PVC roof, same color, same look. The difference is the PVC stays much, much cooler than the metal roof. So
Is that a building material that's been around for a long time, or is that newer?
That is actually in, let's say, Class A buildings, that is actually the preferred roofing system. Yeah, because of the durability, the ease of maintenance, repair. So it is an excellent roofing system.
So I would think the darker it is, the hotter it's going to be, right?
It is, but also the material,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
You know, a PVC versus a metal, right? So yes, absolutely color, but
Will the
then,
heat, will the extreme heat we have up here melt PVC?
no, not at all. We've used it in desert environments before. That's not an issue. Desert, whether freezing temperatures, extreme heat, it'll do just fine.
Okay.
We have both.
I know.
Right.
I guess my question is on the roof, if it's metal, are you taking into account the expansion and contraction of the roof itself
Well, and now we're going
with this
to.
PVC?
Yeah, the PVC is actually much more stable. You don't get the same amount of contraction and expansion in it at all. So there's minimal amounts of movement, and yes, we design so not just the roof, but other parts of the building can expand and contract
Okay.
and move in earthquakes.
Okay.
Right.
And to be clear, all the buildings will have to be built pursuant to the building code. So they would have to meet the building code, which in California, we have stricter laws because of earthquake zones and things like that.
Yeah, no, I was just asking about the roof itself because once they put the PVC, if the roof itself is expanding, contracting and stuff, is that going to damage the roof later on where it's like leaking and stuff like that cause more damages?
No, not at all. And it has if I'm not mistaken, it's a 30-year warranty on the roof. 30 or 50 is one of those.
All right.
It's very durable.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, change gabion wall to stone wall. This, at the front of the building, we always had that stone wall. it's still a stone wall, it's just a veneer. So again, it's a little bit more durable, a little easier to repair. So again, something gets damaged over time, it's just gonna be a little bit easier to service. But, so you'll still see stone. Let's see, number 22, change metal wall panel to cement plaster mural art wall at community building. That's probably the most dramatic change that you see there with the mural at the front. The idea is just bring a little bit more of that character and that playfulness to the exterior. That is not the final mural. That's a placeholder, right? But that would wrap all four sides of the community center there. Let's see, number 23, change metal wall panels to cement plaster at community building learning center. That's the portion that pops up on the left, the gray, and that was a standing seam, right? Since we are going with the mural on the other part of the building, having the standing seam there now becomes a little odd because it's not happening anywhere else. So we're just changing it to a plaster, still adhering to all the multifamily design requirements. Yes?
I was just curious, do you guys already have someone to do the mural?
No, we are, we're trying to figure that out at two levels.
Because we have the art commission here who would love to do that.
One of the things we want to do is also bring like parents and some of the resource parents. So
Gotcha.
it's going to be a question of timing on, getting input. But I think you're right. Then once we get to that point, then we will.
It would be nice to link you with George because they also have
Okay.
programs where we get the kids involved. And
Yeah.
we've done, I don't know if you've seen some of the
Yeah.
artwork that we have. There's some behind here, there's some down the street. And I just thought it'd be nice to get them involved
It
with
is.
that.
I'm actually, was talking to someone who has apprentice programs for people in the trade, for young people.
Got it.
And seeing if we can find some of the agencies who currently are working with
We have
foster
a-
kids
Yeah,
to get into apprentice programs so that they can say they build foster homes.
okay. Well, I'm on the art commission as well, so I can give you
Okay.
my card. And if that's
Yeah,
something you
I
guys
think
are
that was
interested
actually-
in,
That would be good.
we can connect you.
I apologize, I was flipping sheets and two of them were stuck together. So
No
there's
worries.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more items. Just bear
Okay,
with me if you don't
zip
mind.
through 'em.
All right.
So
Do you
this
just
was
want to
page-
point out the ones that are a little bit more
Yeah,
notable?
Yeah, okay, that'd be better.
You gotta put your foot on the gas
More
now.
notice?
Yeah, something that's a little more.
Controversial
Okay,
ones.
I love it, thank you. We're just drawing phase 2, or phase 1 and not phase 2 at this
Okay.
point, so some things will look different because of that. There's a fence separating the community center from the homes, and we're using a 3'6" tall fence there. Still maintain security, but not quite as much of a visual divider or separator.
So you're shortening a wall.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah, so kids don't feel they're trapped inside.
that's a good way to put it. Let's see, PV panels, they were on the building roofs, we're moving them over the carports now, right? We have to have some carports, so we're just putting the PV there. It's just, from a maintenance perspective, you don't have to worry about potential leaks or things, so it's just a much more secure way to put in the photovoltaics. Put it over the covered parking, pretty simple. There was a series of sunshades around the building. Sunshades are still there, but there's areas where they weren't actually providing any shade, particularly the north facing, right? So let's not use them where they're not doing anything, still meeting all the other design requirements. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
I guess, does staff want to comment on anything here, or?
So based on all the information that you heard tonight, what you can do is approve the project as is, approve the project as amended, and add that condition of approval if there's concern about shade trees. Or you could continue the item if you want the applicant to work on other things, and bring it back. I do know that they're on a pretty strict timeline of trying to get through some of their grading and things like that, so there's a few options here for you tonight.
Okay. Okay, well, I like approving as amended with making sure the shade trees, because if we're getting rid of pergolas, I mean, shade's super important.
Absolutely.
We want the kids out there mingling. So, do we need a change the language of the resolution, or?
Yeah, so staff will go back and add a condition of approval to make sure that we do include something along the lines for shade trees in place of that pergola, for more mature trees.
Okay, so, all right, so, we have any more, we don't have anybody here to speak for public hearing, no?
So you would need to open the public
Okay,
hearing?
I'll open the public hearing. Anybody like to speak on the public hearing? Then we shall close the public hearing. Okay.
It's a formality.
Commission, any discussion, commissioners?
I just had a question, and I guess it's just for clarification. So the building on the end, you're still building that, but it's phase 2, or is it not going to be there at all?
We are building that building that you see with 2 studio apartments. Phase 2 has 4 studio apartments.
Okay. But it won't look like the top anymore. Is that what I'm seeing?
I think we will blend it into the structure. I'll let Gil talk about that, but whatever, here's what we're waiting to find out, is after we're up and running, what type of next stage housing is needed.
Oh, okay.
So we wanna test it here.
Got it.
And say, we think this is what we wanna do, but we gotta get operational and running.
And I
So-
do want to point out that when phase 2 does come online, that does come before staff for review.
Okay.
And we will ensure that there is consistency throughout the site.
Yeah.
So for now, it won't be there
Correct.
Correct.
until you guys decide what exactly you need?
Correct.
Got you. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, would somebody like to make a motion for the resolution as amended on this item 7A, and a second?
Motion?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion as amended from Commissioner Olivares. I have a second from Commissioner Jones. All in favor, please show your vote.
Yes, you
Oh, our machines, no bueno?
Is it not working?
I just have a picture of I have what's on the screen up there. Oh, it's blank now. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, somebody did a motion. Did you push the button for the second?
So I have
Commissioner Jones.
Olivares and Jones as a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll record that. You can start voting.
Let the record show, motion passes with 5 yes votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward. When do you think you guys are going to start that breaking ground and get going?
That's a good question. We think we will, the city's been very helpful, and let me, I know this is kind of over, but I do want to say, I guess I want to say this while I'm up here. We hear about a village, it really takes civic leadership to get this going, and this city has, I was talking to one of the ministers nearby us earlier this morning, has really led the way in this, and your questions today, I leave here very inspired that you care about what is happening here in doing this. We hope to start grading by the end of the month, maybe, even sooner. And then we're looking for early foundations, but we have to arm wrestle the LA County Fire people to get that going. But the city has been really moving to make this happen.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah, we're in good shape.
Curious
So-
on what company is going to be managing the whole program?
So, you mean the construction?
No, not the construction, but the
It
actual.
will be Together California.
Oh, Together California, okay.
Yeah, it will be our own 501c3, stuff,
Okay,
sure.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
it'll be all built by 2025, right?
Construction projects, yes. Well, no, I mean, and here's what I'm telling my team, the construction team. And we all know this. Right now, there are children getting separated, siblings, and going to shelters and being, so we have to do it, yes. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
2025.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, non-agenda public comments. Clerk Magallanes, do you have any speaker cards for the non-agenda public comments?
We do not have any speaker cards?
We do not. We'll move on to number 9 then, staff communications. Does staff have any updates for the commission?
I do. So this weekend, we have a few city events that I want to make everyone aware of. We do have Kaleidoscope Fall Frenzy. So there is a concert Friday night, and there is a drone show on Saturday night. I do also want to point out that there is a pumpkin patch over by the Auto Mall. So in correlation with all of the drive-in
Dine.
Drive-in day. Sorry, I'm
Not
like,
di-
it's gonna
not
come out.
dine and dash.
Eventually, it was not. I'm sorry. I felt like a broken record there. Oh, God, I'm like, what was it called? So, it'll be in the same area, and there's a pumpkin patch, and our economic development team has been working really hard with the auto dealers to make sure that we have activities, so please go by and check it out. And I do want to thank the commission for being flexible and, moving the next planning commission meeting to November 21st. Thank you.
Okey dokey.
Kaleidoscope is free, so bring everybody.
All right, great. Okay, commissioners, do you have any reports about kaleidoscopes, maybe?
I don't
No?
have a lot of reports about it, but I've heard great things about it. They've had it before. It is a part of what the Art Commission does, and there's going to be a lot of neat art things. I'm looking forward to it because I've heard a lot of great things, especially about the drone show. There's a drone show that's going to happen. That's pretty awesome. There'll be food trucks. I'll be there. Some of the Art Commission will be there, along with some of the other people who do art in the community. And so it's going to be really great, and it's free. So bring your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, whoever. And it'll be this Friday and Saturday.
Okay, any other
At Marie
commissioner
Kerr.
communications? No? Then I will move to adjourn the planning commission meeting to Thursday, November 21st. It's a different Thursday this month, next month.
I'll be sure to send out reminders.
All right,
I already
November
changed my
21st at
calendar.
7 PM. We are adjourned.